Hi, welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views show. I'm your host, Diane Sawyer, President and CEO of the Chamber. Today we have a very special guest with us, Executive Director of Brookdale Reidsville, Tracy Holcomb. Welcome to the show, Tracy.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited that you are here. You guys have been a long-standing member of the Chamber and a long-standing member of our community and our healthcare community, and there have been so many really awesome things that have happened just in my time since I have been at the Chamber. I'm really familiar with Brookdale just because I used to work in Martinsville, and I spent 7 years of the beginning of my career there working with a healthcare coalition, and so that was sort of cool for me when I came here and when the transition to Brookdale happened. So I was very familiar with Brookdale and know it to be a really great organization. Yes. So tell us about what you guys do. Tell us about what your main focus is and sort of how you became the executive director and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Reidsville. I started with Brookdale in 2000 as a receptionist. So just out of high school, came into Brookdale and was hired. I worked with some great people, fell in love with the residents, loved being there, and then got promoted to the office manager there and worked in that office probably for about 3-4 years, and then went back to school and worked at another Brookdale, which was in Greensboro, and came back to Reidsville in 2006 as the director. I've wore many hats with Brookdale, and that's the thing about Brookdale is you can do lots of things. You have a lot of career growth, and I just loved it. I love being with the residents. It's very rewarding at the end of the day to be there with them. As far as Brookdale, we became Brookdale in 2006. It was Southern Assisted Living prior to that. Came Brookdale in 2006. In 2015, they changed our name to Brookdale, so everybody would see that it's one of the largest assisted living, senior living groups in the United States, and it still is today.
Well, I know that you guys have done so many great things as the site in Reidsville, and I understand that you're very award-winning and have some really great credentials. So tell us about some of that.
Yes, for being a part of a large organization, of course, we have the opportunity to get the J.D. Power Award, which is surveys that we do that go to our actual families that ask questions, and we were awarded as Brookdale as #1 customer satisfaction. This year, as well as last year, we were able to do a U.S. weekly news survey, which was sent out to our families. And last year we got Best Memory Care, and this year we got both Best Memory Care in Assisted Living and Memory Care. So it was it's a huge thing for us this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is very exciting.
Thank you.
For those who maybe aren't in that world yet and who haven't had to do those kind of things, tell us what is memory care, what does that mean, and what is the other award? I'm sorry, you said it was
Best Assisted Living.
Best Assisted Living. Okay. And explain maybe the difference about assisted living versus, you hear the term nursing home and you hear the term.
Yes.
So if you can maybe explain that would be great.
Okay. So first, assisted living, of course we try to meet with people when they need the services. We assess them. It's really personalized care for the elderly, which is in a residential community. So their home, we're in their home. We are lucky to be in their home to take care of them. So assisted living, we may do, if someone is assessed for assisted living, you may need help with your ADLs, which is going to be eating, dressing, bathing, grooming, ambulation, feeding. Even we do that. Then you go into medication management because a lot of elderly have a hard time managing their medicine, so we do that. We have chronic condition management, files management. We do transportation, laundry services, housekeeping, meals. We do special diets. So there's a lot of things. When you think of assisted living, you think, it's just assistance. We do a lot more detail too in Brookdale. That's why it's personalized. Our assessment is catered to, not only do we staff to the regulations, we staff above the regulations in Brookdale because our assessment depends on the acuity of our residents. So if we have high care, we have more staff there, which is nice for the residents as well.
That is really nice for them. When you say in medication assistance, that's a big deal because
Yes.
as you get older, you tend to you forget oh, I took that medicine already, or I didn't take that medicine, and I could see where that would be a really big, probably ease of mind for a family member to know that they were being taken care of and that somebody was taking care of managing those things. But it sounds like that's just a small piece of all of the things you're able to do.
Yes. And when we do medication management, the residents, they have the opportunity to not have to worry about that. They can just have fun, like live their life, do activities, have fun, go out on outings, those things we do. They don't have to worry about that anymore. And that's sometimes, I think, a blessing, like you said, for the resident and the family.
So when people start to think about, say they've never experienced as a family, you know, they're down to one kid, and the one kid is, you know, say our age, and they've got somebody that they've started thinking that may need some assistance, really can't live at home anymore. Like, how does that work? What happens? How do people take that first step? How do they find out about you? Like, what does that look like?
Well, a lot of people, I think, our age go online and look for assisted living. You know, we're there. Our number, I will give it to you, it's 336-634-0002. Please just call. We can talk to you. I can talk to you. Crystal Matthews is my sales manager. She normally takes the initial inquiry. We start talking to you, and we just really start asking you some questions about what's getting harder. Because typically you came to us because you had a reason, there was a need, there's something happened. Because if you are taking care of your loved one, it gets harder on just your family life too. They're there, you're trying to take care of them, you're trying to take care of you, and it puts a lot of stress on the daughter or son or just loved one that's taking care of residents. So we're there to help everybody in their point of need. So they come in, we do the initial inquiry, kind of figure out what kind of care they need, and then we have an RN that's there on staff. Not all assisted livings have an RN. So Sandy Wade is our RN, our registered nurse, that is at our community. We then set up an assessment. We'll come out to your home. You can come into Brookdale, and we will assess the resident and see what kind of care they need. And then based off that is where we decide the pricing, and we decide the room that they want to be in, and it kind of goes from there. We even contact the doctor, send the information to make it easy on the family, because this is already a hard decision that you're having to make. Someone coming out of their home for 50, 60 years and moving in, it's a very hard decision, and sometimes the loved one or the resident hasn't made that decision yet. So we can try to help you have that conversation with them to make it easier, because it is hard to change those roles of you being the daughter or the son and having to now really be that person that's trying to be in charge. That's difficult for most people. So we just try to meet them right there at that need, because that is hard, and try to go through the process of how you pay, what services are out there to help them. We go through all of that with them.
Yeah, I imagine that it's a very difficult decision from the aspect of who pays for it, how do you pay for it,
Yes.
what do you have to pay,
Yes.
what does it cover, you know, what are the options. And so I think that, and then there's the caregiver piece, right? Like, there's so much potential for caring for our caregivers.
Yes.
And recently, the chamber, there was just somebody that was promoting like hey, the caregivers aren't really taking for it. And I think we were working with ADTS on that, because they're really big on, they have a support group, and they have things that, you know, that we can let people know, hey, there's support out there for you. But people don't think about that. People don't think about the caregiver and how hard it is, and then how hard it is to feel like if you've assumed that role and you've owned it, how to give that up if they're going to go live in a facility, and what that's like.
And you see that. I mean, we also have a memory care support group meeting that we do every month. We'd love to see that be a larger group, because there's so many people out there that may not understand memory impairment and what all you need to do. So that's there as a support role for us too. And it is hard, because we see that a lot when people are taking care of them at home and then they make the decision to come in. It is very difficult for them to let go, but we don't push that. We're just like, we're here to partner with you. We want to make sure we care. Care is our number one thing in Brookdale. We we strive for the best care. We have a best and excellent survey that Brookdale does just for us. It's above the state regulations of what we have to provide. That's why we are in customer satisfaction. It's a big deal, and care is one of our primary focuses. We want to be the best in care.
Absolutely. And I have seen from working with Sandy and with Crystal and with you too, that having a great team is very essential to the success of an individual site like Brookdale Reidsville to the larger company. And so I know from working with you ladies, like how serious that you are about your job, and how much you love your job, and how much you feel like it's more of a calling than just a job. And the first thing that comes is having a happy team. And I think as the executive director that you do a really great job with that. Do you have a pointed effort that you make? Because we all know that if the employees are happy, they're going to care for the folks in the, that are living there in a better manner. With
Crystal and Sandy and myself and my team, we are like family. When you walk into that building, it is like family. I have been there for 23 years, so they are my family. That's what we do. We spend more time with them than we do our own family. Right. So we love them. You have to have that compassion. And what I tell every staff member that comes into my building is, if anything, I want you to know to put my resident first. You put them first. Everything else will fall into line. That is my main thing. That is one of Brookdale's missions and cornerstones, is to put the resident first. If we do that, everything else will fall into place, and it will be good. But my team is great. I could not do it without them. I don't always look at myself as just being the executive director. I'm not that person. I am one that will get right down there in there with you, and I will help you. Through COVID, we had to do that. It was, I may be doing housekeeping today, I may be cooking today, I may be doing care today. It just really, we had to be that universal worker, and my team's great. We literally together have over 200 years of experience just at Brookdale Reidsville. With the management team and my staff. And, who could ask for anything more there with the experience that we provide? If there is a conflict or a concern, you bet it's happened to one of us, and we can figure it out. And we work so well together. It's nice to be able to go to work and want to go to work. And we do. We have a great friendship. They're also my friends, and we work together very well.
That's awesome. Speaking of the pandemic, oh my gosh. I tell people, being the chamber director but having a health education background was very difficult for me. We struggled because the chamber wanted to be the leader for our businesses and say, listen, like, guidelines, no guidelines. You think it's a hoax, you don't think it's a hoax, you're going to get the shot, you're not going to get the shot. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, your customers, your clients, that's who matters. And so you have to set your personal things aside and focus. We told these businesses downtown, if your folks don't want to come in the store because nobody's wearing a mask, if your folks want curbside pickup, if you want to survive this, these are the things you are going to have to do to make things work. And I ended up losing both of my grandparents during COVID, and had my grandmother basically grieved herself to death, but she ended up in a facility, and it was hard. And you couldn't go in, and you couldn't see your loved ones, and you could, and everybody, like you said, wearing masks, and for all kinds of different reasons that they could make things difficult. How did you guys survive that? What did you do? What do you feel like you maybe were better at, or innovative, or what got you through, and how has it changed things?
Well, being part of a big organization, we had a lot of support and help. We had the supplies that we needed. We never ran out of those supplies. Brookdale made sure we had the masks, the PPE.
The big PPE conversations.
We had all of that, and they really did a great job of coming up with plans of what we need to do to keep our residents safe, because it was keep the residents safe at all costs. And, we were lucky enough to do that for well over a year of COVID, and then we had the first case. And, we just had to do the best we could and try to figure out what was the best. The visitation, of course, was very difficult, but we made it happen. We didn't let them go without visitation. We did not have a lot of people coming in our building, but we made it happen on, our iPad with FaceTime. We made it happen with the window visits. If we went to the window, we got on the phone with them on the phone and they talked to each other. I know it wasn't the same thing of being connected. We did outside visits. We did inside visits. There was so much stuff we had to do. But I'm just so thankful that we're done. And we could do it, and we're back to some kind of normalcy. I know it's still there, and we still can get it.
Oh, yeah.
But we've come a long ways. We really have, and we had to be their family. At that point in time, we were their family. We were their hairdresser. We couldn't have the hairdressers come in, so I did hair. I thank God didn't cut it, but my RCC did. Michelle, I came in one day and Michelle was there. She was cutting a resident's hair. I was like, oh, what are you doing? It's just like, well, it's got to be cut, and she did a good job. We had to do what we had to do at that point in time to just take care of the residents, and we did what we had to do. And
I always heard really great things about y'all too, because that that stuff got out in the community quickly. Well, you can't. And, when you would run into people who all over had family in different places, and I always heard such good things about Brookdale and how you were taking care of folks, and that's quite an accomplishment that you guys made it over a year without your first case.
We did.
And is that staff and residents, or was it?
It was both, yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But we started as soon as we knew we had it. We went to the mask, and we had the mask. Like, we were there with the PPE and the mask and doing what we needed to do. We went to mask immediately. We wore them all day long. I didn't even take that thing off. And then when we had our first case, we had to go to the N95s, and we wore those. So if we just had one case in the building, it didn't mean that we only used the N95 when we went in that person's room. We had to wear them in the entire building, just to make sure we were protecting each other.
That's awesome.
But I would also communicate with families through emails and let them know, this is what we're doing, this is how it's going. Just open communication, I think, is what made us so successful, to just communicate everything to the staff as well as the families.
And how does it feel to be through all of that and feel like you survived it successfully?
It seems like the best accomplishments we could ever make.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, kudos to you and your staff, because it's truly, it was one of the hardest times. It's funny, when everything started hitting, I was so thankful that I wasn't in public health anymore. And I was thinking to myself, all those vocabulary words and all those things we had to study, I never thought I'd hear the word global pandemic ever in my lifetime. Like, I was like, oh, that's crazy. That's end of world stuff. That's in the past. Like, we'll never hear those words. And it was mind blowing.
Yes.
And then for me to sit down and try to look at our membership and say, how do I help our membership? And, and at first, not only was it the conversations about the PPE and having the equipment, and we were having the team Reidsville meetings on Fridays, and we were gathering and going, what do we need? What can we do? What are the resources for the businesses, and that aspect of it. But then it was also like, oh my gosh, you're talking about the hair care. Like, our salons couldn't operate, and our restaurants it was nuts. Like, and people were, will they survive this? Will they be able to ever open back up, or will they ever be able to continue? And then on the flip side, there were people losing their businesses. There were people quitting jobs and starting businesses. And it was like the Wild Wild West. It was crazy. So, people are so tired of hearing about it and so tired of talking about it. But it was like one of the most major events in my lifetime, if not the number one event in my lifetime, that it just affected us for so long.
It did.
And you really can't talk to somebody that it didn't somehow affect them, either personally or with family members or with friends or with work or, some sort of major transition. And things changed. People, I still tell people, like, our events are different. People don't come to the events as much because they're short-staffed or because they're just trying to make it. Or I've noticed that our events that are later in the evening, like, people don't go out as much anymore. They got used to being at home or being at home with family or cooking dinner or whatever it was. And so, like, things die off like a lot sooner. Now, I would say a whole season. We're heading into our busy season, as everybody sees. We've got our golf door prizes here, our golf tournament, and our business expo. So August through October and then into the holidays is like the real busy season for the chamber. I have noticed, if I compare to a year ago, that they're kind of a little bit more, but it's like every year that goes by, you reflect and you think, where were we a year ago, 2 years ago? And it's kind of crazy to think about how businesses have adapted and how our hours changed. We don't keep the same hours that we did. And I think people realized, so to bring it all back full circle, people realized, hey, like, my family's more important than this job that's killing me, or my career, or hey, my family's more important, let's mend some fences or whatever. So I'm sure that a lot of that piece of it also overflowed into what you all do, because I feel like people started to realize, like, hey, this is important, or hey, I can't keep caregiving, I can't keep spending all my time, like, I'm missing on this piece of my life because I'm doing this. I need some help. I mean, do you feel like you saw those kinds of things?
Oh, yes, we went through. I mean, of course, everybody went through the staffing, of that. But that's where, we had to be trained to do it. We were still there, as my management team, we would step in and we would help on the floor if we had to. That's probably the first time I've really ever had to do that in my 23 years of working. We had to make it happen. We still had to care for the residents. They were still there. We had to do it. We had to manage to it. And now I feel like we have gotten past that. Brookdale put a lot of time and energy in, hiring. And then now we've really revamped and thinking about how do we appreciate our staff and keep them, because you don't want them to leave. When you get them, you want them to be there. You train them. So we've gotten a lot of appreciation. We've done a lot of, at that point in time, I think I had to put like 85% of my time just into hiring to make sure that we got the right people and we got the staff back in there. We didn't want to do agency. You didn't want to go into that. You wanted your staff, So, we did, we got our staffing back. We're doing good right now. We may need a few here and there, but we're really trying to keep the appreciation up, to make them understand we do appreciate what they do. What they do is hard work, and we do appreciate them for coming in and being away from their family and really taking care of this family. So we appreciate, we do an Everyday Hero with Brookdale, which is you're nominated for something you do above and beyond. So people are nominated by each other and or a resident. When you get referred by a resident, that's a big deal, and we do that and recognize them at the staff meeting. They get like $100 bonus. They get 8 hours of PTO and then a shirt that says Everyday Hero, which is a big deal for them, and a certificate. So that's a cool thing that I think that they do, and just able to show the things that people do that go above and beyond. There are some true compassionate people that really work in it. You have to, if you're going to do this on a day in, day out, you have to be a compassionate, caring person.
Absolutely. I think that is like the number one requirement, because you find so many times in other places and you see things, and I guess, there's kind of almost a bad reputation for going and living in a facility and what it looks. It doesn't matter what the name or how prestigious or whatever. I mean, it's all about the humans and the people who work there.
Yes.
And you guys are just known for having a really great team. So that's really awesome that you were able to pull through the pandemic like you did, and to be right back on track and winning awards and all kinds of things. That's just so exciting to hear.
Thank you.
If there's anything, is there anything that you would want just the general public or the business community to know? Like, I know sometimes y'all are looking for opportunities to partner, to have outings for the residents, or to have people come and do things. Like, is there anything that you're looking for right now, or something you would want people to know?
Well, of course, through the pandemic and COVID, we lost a lot of our volunteers. So, I mean, that's what made our programming so great. So, yeah, anybody that's willing to volunteer, to come in, singing groups. The residents love to have church groups, singing groups come in. That kind of stopped a little bit after that. I think people were scared to come back in, not knowing. But, if anybody's out there that wants to do that and to help us with, making the volunteer program better, that would be awesome.
That sounds like something that I would love to promote for you all. So if you decide to have a flyer or an event or something around that, let us know, and we'd love to share that for you. There's a lot of times people are looking for, or groups looking for opportunities. So we'd love to connect you with that. Well, we don't have much time left, so I just wanted to, and see, I told you, we don't have much time left. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about Brookdale as an organization, or the staff, or just, are you hiring right now, or are you fully staffed? Like, where are you at with that?
So I do want to share that this year is our big year. It's 25 years that we have been serving the community of Rockingham County. And we will have a celebration on September the 14th at 5 o'clock. It will be at Brookdale. We will have heavy hors d'oeuvres, which will kind of be throughout the community so people can tour through the community and see it. And then we'll have live music. Matt Crowder and his band is going to be there playing. So I do want to make sure that we invite people to that. As far as hiring, right now we place hiring on Indeed, on Brookdale website as well, and then you can just come into the community and apply. That's always great. We can normally try to see for staff, and we try to make sure we interview them. Like, we could set up an interview that day if we can and we have availability. But right now we're probably hiring for med techs or med aides on second shift and resident care associates on second and third.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you've got pretty good staff, and that's just a blessing, because that is difficult right now, and that people are making changes and shifts and tuning out to one thing and into another. So I hope that this surge of students coming through will realize and will make some of those changes into fields where we really need people and where we need compassionate people. And I mean, I think that the students that are starting to come through, it affected them tremendously.
It did.
The young ones won't understand what it means other than that they struggled, in school. The ones who were in high school and missing out on those major moments that they're almost all now come through and graduated, but those middle school kids are now coming into high school, or, have just started high school in the last year or so. And so, I hope they will appreciate and understand, especially if they had older siblings, those class of 2020 seniors,
Yes.
and just how that followed behind. So, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that we made it through. I'm thankful for great people in our community. I'm thankful for how hard you and your staff and everybody that just kept things going and cared for people. Because I think that was the most important thing that we learned out of the pandemic. So,
thank you.
Congratulations on 25 years.
Thank you.
We're going to be excited to celebrate with you all in September. And we are just thankful to have you. And thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, that is it for today's show. As always, you can find us in downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street and on all of our social media channels. And we look forward to next time. Stay tuned.